Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's August 24th, 2023, and it's time to pick some peaches. So the other day I showed a swarm that was on this tree here, and the swarm was right up in here, right up in this area here, and they moved out yesterday, and I came over here and grabbed a couple of peaches. And of course, when the tree gets bent down like this, the deer come up, and here's an example. So the deer come over and they'll eat up all the leaves and all and keep pulling, and that breaks some of the branches, which just happens, but it's also laden with lots of beautiful peaches here. So they're real nice, gorgeous. They are so delicious. And the apples are almost, some of the apples are almost ready as well. And so yesterday, after I ate the peach, I could watch the doe and the fawn right here. And then the other doe was right over here. And you can see the number of peaches that are coming down over here. So they haven't eaten them all, and you can see there is some brown rot on some of these. So I need to get these harvested and separate anything that shows any sign of brown rot. Just very few peaches that have any signs of brown rot on this one. Same with this tree here. There's probably half a dozen peaches that have some brown rot on them. The tree over there, that peach tree doesn't have any signs of brown rot. The one over there doesn't. And I haven't checked on the rest yet. And apples are just about there as well. So this time of year, it's kind of a blessing and kind of a pain. And I see the wasps have found the peaches. They're often, when the apples get ripe, there'll be big holes in the sides of the apples, and all you'll see is the skin. It'll be like a cast, where the wasps have consumed all of the flesh of the apples. And they do the same thing with the peaches when they get ripe as well. They just love the sweets. I guess not unlike us. So I'm going to get started now and separate out any peaches that are bad. I'll try and prune off any of the limbs that need to be pruned. Then after I've got it set, it would be nice to go ahead and see if I can straighten out some of these limbs and prune them down some as well. So, and this is the peach tree that had the big limbs come off. 3 big limbs come off. So that one's still viable and it's growing. So we'll see how well that does next year. And a lot of the leaves are falling from so many of the different trees, and the maples are already starting to turn color here. It's kind of an odd season we're having this year. Not unlike other places. So I'm going to get started. Okay, I got the peaches out of this tree. You can see the limbs are a little more vertical at this point. This limb here is the one that had the weight of the swarm on it, but you can see even the weight of the fruit. So these cages have got to come off, and I have to heal each one of these lesions here. I did find some either mummified or damaged and having brown rot on some of them. So that's how many peaches had some brown rot on it or were heavily damaged. A few mummified ones. And you can see the wasps down there. Right now they're really hot to trot on the fruit that's here. It gets real ripe, and of course they want to partake in the fruit. Now the honeybees, I know there was a comment, I want to believe mentioned, geez, it looked like the honeybees were enjoying the peaches. Actually, they were just holding on to the peaches and the limbs and the leaves as a form of scaffolding to support themselves. And the bees were just waiting there for the scouts to find the new home. And it took them a couple of days to do that. And then the swarm leaves the area. Some of the scouts get left. There's still a few bees up here now, but they aren't consuming the fruit. They're looking for their swarm, for the queen. And they've already left while these scouts were out scouting around. That's just part of nature and how it works. And one other thing I would say, I'll try to remember to put a link to this, but this is a Werner 3-legged ladder. This is a 6-foot one. Really super handy. I have a 6, 8, and a 12-footer. This is the one that Thea uses for the mulberry, harvesting the mulberries. I really caution people, unless they're on asphalt, not to use a standard ladder with the 4 legs as opposed to the 3 legs. This 3-leg system with the extra support at the base, man, these things are so stable. They work out so well, as long as you've got some firm ground to work on. So here's what came from this tree here. There are some that have where the insects have already started damaging them some, but they can be cut off. There's probably a half a dozen in here, but really big, beautiful fruit. Really gorgeous looking peaches. Delicious, absolutely. These are mouth-watering. Gave Thea one yesterday afternoon to encourage her to, so there's an ant crawling across that one, to encourage her, get her excited about processing more peaches. Oh Lord. I still have a lot more cages to remove from here. So I'm not going to film anymore, but I've got to check out this one. Oh, I did use the pruner, so any limbs that look damaged or that have had obvious brown rot on it, and you could see when they have the brown rot, the leaves actually start to break down like the rest of it. And I will pick up the fruit that's on the ground. I used to leave it here, but I'll move it to a location where the deer can and the rodents can all consume all of the excess fruit. But we don't want any of the mummified or the brown rot peaches to be around our stone fruit. So the peaches, the nectarines, the apricots, the cherries, almonds, we don't want them around any of those fruit that have the big pit in them. And because that can help promote the longevity of the brown rot as well. So I'm going to get started. I hope this was somewhat of value. Now comes the real work. This is the easy part, harvesting them like this. Now Thea goes through processing them. And these are freestone peaches. I should mention that. If I were to select different types of peaches for my property, I'd select a few different varieties that produce their fruit at different times in the season. And that really works out great here. But I also would do the stone free. So in other words, the pit doesn't stick to the flesh like crazy and make it a real bear to try and get the fruit out of the peach. You want to have them when they get ripe, you can just reach in with a pair of pliers, grab a hold of the pit and pop it out. That way you can have all the skin and the fruit on it, freeze it, make smoothies. All the nutrients are still there, but it's super easy to remove the pit from the flesh of the pit. That happens when they're absolutely ripe, and you just have to get comfortable with feeling how much the flesh of the fruit gives when you apply some pressure to the outer surface of it. If they're still rock hard, they're not ready, and the pit will adhere to the walls of the flesh a little more readily. So it's time to get back to work. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe and think about the future. Perennial crops keep producing year after year after year. They're awesome. Perennial crops beat out the vegetable crops hands down because they keep giving. That's a regenerative form of investment. And we've talked about investments before. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe and take good care of yourselves. Bye-bye now. That's it, camera. Maybe this one's next.